Stream
now.
Is there a
Or
anything that Lindsay needs to get on?
Lindsay's not gonna be here.
No.
Lame.
Lame. She couldn't find a place to crash after. Oh my god. I told her that too.
yeah, she could have easily come by. Easily.
But she was like, and then she said that something came up at work, so it just wasn't meant to be for her today.
Lame.
Okay, so I'm putting in my email, my Lori email, and
Yeah.
I'll go.
And then you're
It's filming you guys now. And you're in black and white. It's really freaky looking.
like a horror movie.
Oh my god. There you
Maybe
go.
we should add some screams. Certain noises. Like that.
Oh no.
Is it working now?
The next quarter. What?
It goes, not connected,
No.
connected,
No.
not connected,
The
connected, no.
number?
Okay, so let me find the stream for.
Have you registered for that one yet?
I registered
That's
for
just
it
my email,
like
right?
a while ago, like
Yeah.
when I registered for this one.
If not, cancel the MyLordy.ca part, like the accent and everything after that. and
MU620.
Just the beginning.
Okay.
Sorry.
It should be.
MU.
That's what I do with,
Hi,
Lori
Jennifer.
was fine.
I saw you on the camera before I saw you in real life. That's hilarious.
No,
Go ahead.
it is, where?
No, I just gave up all my change because I was out for dinner with my boyfriend. We went to Krabby Joe's, which he works at in Stratford. But anyway, we went to Krabby Joe's, and then because he's used to just buying food and then not tipping because he like makes his own food there. So he pays, but he doesn't tip, and all I have left.
This is that same problem I'm having, Heather, where my brain just won't tell me where the freaking address is for the stream. Remember that link we were trying to get to Jess?
live?
Right there?
Maybe.
No. That's just the encoder stuff. This happened last time where I was like, where the heck is the freaking...
Do you not just.
There it is. It's a share. There it is. Hey, so I'm going to have to give it to you
A giant.
for Lindsay. Okay? You ready? Well, you want to see it?
Is it a code or something?
Yeah, that's the URL.
Okay.
Full time, right?
For a part-time job.
You said MU620.
I was like,
Yeah.
no, I have to. I was like, I decision, yes.
Oh,
God, so sick.
I will not.
It's no fun. Did you get in touch with Kathy?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Like at least
Okay.
2 days off a week after.
So let's pray this thing works tonight much better.
You know.
If not, I just have to move it around. But what good is that?
Is Jess here tonight?
That should be online now. Ask her.
And I got the 200.
And ask her if she can hear me.
I could hear everyone at first, then
I work in a school.
Okay, it should be online again any second. Hang on just a second. It says it's live, but all I'm getting is somebody's legs. Deanne's legs. Okay. That's really funny.
she said yes. She said, are you on?
Can you hear it? Hey, Linz, can you hear it? That's so frustrating, right?
Yeah. Pause, yeah.
And it's doing this opposite thing now. Look at, like it's filming the other side. So it's kind of funny. So if I stand on the opposite side, I can film Dan. Hi, Dan.
Weird.
Yeah, and then I can make it go down. Oh, yeah, I can see Dan. Great. Now I can film Emily. Hi, Emily. Yeah. So how do I reverse the camera?
Can you touch the screen like just like a regular iPad?
Yeah, there's just no icon on it because this particular streaming app is one that some guy in India wrote. There, I got it. Yeah. Oh, there I am. But it's still not. It's still frozen on her end.
No, actually, I went with my friends, but
It'll come back.
I ended up
I just got it. It'll come back.
by doing two games against
Yeah, because there's Dan.
and getting 5 stars. That's how
That's
it's
hilarious.
done. It was like a belly dancing Santa and something. It was really hard, but it was.
Serious, you're belly
Yeah.
dancing?
Oh, is it like that?
No, it wasn't even a Christmas song.
It wasn't?
Uh-uh.
Oh, because
It
I
was
was
like
like,
a
we do that
Spanish
with the
lady.
Just Dance kids for like.
Yeah, it's just filming Dan's legs. I don't know why.
That's what I used when my teachers made me know.
Hey, Lindsay, can you hear me yet? Oh, yeah, I've got her on chat.
Seriously,
Like,
one of the best things to do.
Or we play Pictionary at the board.
Or tableaus.
Do you have her on chat as well?
Yes.
Awesome. I've got her on a chat line too. That's
Gerard
awesome.
Sending me a new link. Okay, maybe. It's as if the first one ended and recorded. So when I click or refresh it, it just plays what it recorded.
Oh, okay. Let's give her a new link. Let me do. Yeah, it just.
Do you have her on Facebook?
No, she's right here on my live stream.
Oh yeah, I've done that one.
Okay, maybe send it to her through.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Yeah, it's just playing this one I had of Dan going over and over again.
Oh, that sucks.
Classic.
You guys are so
Going
good.
viral.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say that that
Yeah,
course exists?
they did this to kids.
Figured it out.
Okay. Was it the wrong
No.
term?
No, I'm
I
probably
don't
the
know.
video.
Thanks.
Yeah, she got like
I'll show you us
Full
doing
point.
Tetris. We failed real hard.
I've tried like 17 times. I can't do it.
I can't open up my Dropbox, which is what I've got my video in.
Mhm.
Oh, here we go.
And so
But it does this. I've got no black one, not connected.
No, it just keeps giving me that same.
My, honestly, my fiance like looked up right away. Jobs in UK.
Yeah, there's like a camera on the TV, and you're following like. I
No,
guess
he
maybe-
doesn't.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
he
right.
was,
So you're
he was
following the
in
people,
Kitchener, but he was
but
just
like
like,
for the other
"We're not
ones,
safe here.
it's like
We're still not safe
it
here."
only really tracks the brightness. So as
Oh,
long
I
as the
see. Yeah,
brightness
it's
stays-
it kind of stopped. That old one stopped.
To Europe. Where it's
How do I get rid of it? I hate this.
Because he was like, when
It was
California
so
has
much
another
fun.
Donald Trump's gonna be like, I'm gonna build a great pipeline to the Great Lakes and drain it.
Have you seen that? There was a,
You're all on film right now, so just so you know.
what would happen if Donald Trump won, and there's like folks getting.
Oh.
Yeah, and then the US just sort of floats away.
Yeah.
I'm totally down for that.
So like, see how his hand's pink? You're kind of following it.
And you are these characters, like.
Yeah. So you have to stand in their thing until they get your face.
See, I miss DDR. When you said
I was
DDR,
just
I
gonna
was
say,
so
I
excited.
Well, I thought it was. That's what my friend told me it was, but it wasn't.
DDR is
So Dan, can you go first tonight? Then Emily, then Aaron. Are you here yet? Hi, Aaron. Good to see you. Hi, Jess.
Are you here yet?
Alex and Maria. And I know people are sick, so we probably should just kind of go quickly and talk and get our rear ends out of here. But give me about 2 more minutes to get Lindsay online. And Carissa is. Dan, you remember what she's doing? She's off on recruiting, right? Do you know?
No, I don't, but yes,
Okay.
that sounds about right.
It's okay. I don't know why I would ask you. It's just because you're buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I saw it earlier that you told me that.
Yeah. Am I my person's keeper? Yes. So. Now it says it's live again, but I'm not getting an actual feed. You know what? I'm gonna have to get out of this.
I felt left out.
Crap. All right, let's try again.
But,
I figured it out.
Thanks.
Johnston.
Alright.
Done.
I know, do you use below your
What?
Wi-Fi or gradually?
Freezing.
Oh, I put this on my computer. Oh, I have to. So, but for Wi-Fi?
Come on.
I have
There we go.
to try.
Okay.
Got it.
Because remember that one time?
Fingers crossed.
Got it!
Got it.
Exclamation mark.
Yes. Yes.
Yas.
She says, I'm wondering. Oh, no, she's got it. It's working. Hooray. We won't touch it. And while you're setting up there, Dan, why don't you turn on the digital display?
Now, they don't get to choose. You would have to go.
And
No.
yeah, I can get you a different chord. This,
Feeling like
if you will do this so she can hear you as you present, and it'll follow you then. We'll figure
Oh,
out
yeah.
the right angles.
really well known for.
And do you have a, do you want that? Let's,
I don't know if you brought that last time, like the.
I do, but you gotta ask, because sometimes they're different. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They're not always the same interface, even Macs. So you can talk to Lindsay. She's right there.
Hello.
All right, let's see if that comes up on the screen.
She says it froze.
It froze.
Sorry.
It's okay. It did freeze. But at least that's on. Dan, let me grab that. Oh, it's following.
Now she says it's good.
Yeah, it's following. Before Dan starts, why don't we get the class going? And I'd like to, I'm going to show you a YouTube that I showed all the other classes at the very beginning that sort of shaped their heads about this perspective shifting that we're supposed to be trying to do, right? That's why we study a different context, so you can get your head into a different context, into a different culture, into a different thing, so you can kind of peek through that window, rather than it's all about from my two eyes, right? And so, before Dan starts, I wanted to find that video, because it's not very long, and see if I can get it to you. It is, oh, I've got it. Okay, so let me plug that in real fast. Great. Lindsay, you're there? Is she there?
Yeah, she says it's good.
Great. And this is just a minute. And are you guys seeing it? Oh, we're not hearing it. Okay, that's what this is right here, Dan. And turn up the volume on the master. See how it's 0? I'll turn up the volume here. And Lindsay, I'll pick up the mic here and take you to the screen. And here it is. So, welcome to this week, everybody.
That's a
And
very
sometimes I feel like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's gonna stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me most, is that I don't know if it's ever gonna stop.
You have a nail in your head.
That is not a good nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. Now the sleepers go all, now the sweaters are snagged, maybe all the time.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Hold on. If you would just.
Don't.
I love that thing. So in some ways, that's what it's like when you're trying to talk across cultures and stuff. It's like, you could just fix it. And they're like, but we have this ritual to do. And you're like, well, why? But our job as community musicians is to bridge that. And sometimes it's maddening to even try to do this kind of thing. So, you know what? Kira needs to tune in too. Can someone get Kara online? She should be home. Yeah, try to Facebook her, could you? Sure. Yeah. And Lindsay, if you know where she is, because I know she's home. Yeah. So this is Dan, and he's covering Ubuntu, which is, I don't know what it is. Would you? Look, you have my wallet. Why do you have my wallet?
Times are tough.
So when you are showing this, you can point it. If you just take your arm and point it over there, and see what that does. See? Like when you're pointing to me. Yeah. Pretty cool, eh? I'll get out of your way.
Okay, so this book was entitled Ubuntu, and it was written by a minister who was later ordained a priest named Michael Battle, and he studied with a really renowned, I guess, priest in Africa. His name was Desmond Tutu. So a lot of this book kind of follows that study. This quote that's on there is, a person is a person through other persons. This is like really the theme of the entire book. I want to say in like one of the beginning chapters, he was at Michael Battle, that is, the author was at a spiritual workshop, and he was asked to do this exercise. So I'm going to try it with you. So the presenter said to think of two or three words that you think people would describe you as. So take like 15 seconds and think of 2 or 3 words. How do other people see you? Okay. And then take 15 seconds and come up with 2 or 3 words. How do you see yourself?
So the first one is 2 or 3 words, how you think other people see you?
Yep.
Okay.
And then 2 or 3 words, how do you see yourself?
Okay.
And this presenter, I think, was trying to suggest thinking about the person you want to be in relation to the person you are in real life, right? And this book, A Person is a Person Through Other Persons, is really, we learn who we are through being a part of a community, through the actions, through the awareness of somebody else. I like how it started because it challenged these questions up here. Do we define ourselves by, it made me think of every time I meet somebody, do I say, I'm Dan and I'm a teacher, or I'm Dan and I'm a music teacher and I'm a musician in the community. Like, we define ourselves by things that we do, or like the affiliations that I keep pointing to my computer instead of up here, or the affiliations that we're a part of. But Ubuntu, like it says, teaches us that the only true way to know self is actually in the community and how we are a part of the community. They do a lot of comparisons between the Western culture and African culture. The first chunk of the book is the African culture and the Ubuntu way of life, and how we can influence, or how that way of life and that way of living can actually influence the Western culture. And then the second half of the book is suggesting how the Western culture influences and can have some sort of impact on the African culture. Yes.
You can see what she sees. So that's how you see it. So if you want to show her whatever.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So you can see what she sees.
So the biggest one, I put this on the blog as well, so I won't spend a lot of time, but really the big point is that in the Western culture, we're so individual focused, and community comes second. Whereas in the Ubuntu African culture, community is like, they're brought into this. They have roles and expectations right away, and they're a part of a community, and then their individual lives come second. So some themes to consider: interdependence, relationships, spirituality, self-awareness, self-actualization, and community. spirituality is like obviously as he's a reverend, a priest, and studied with this Desmond Tutu. Spirituality was something that like is the underlying theme. I kind of thought about how like I view spirituality or even relationships. I kind of like box everything. Um, like I go to church on Sunday, let's say. I am like this with this group of friends. Whereas all of these words on the board, like it's all embedded. They practice what they preach. It's all part of their daily life. They will pray in every aspect of their job. They're always building relationships with and through each other, if that makes sense. Um, and then when I think about community music with this, I think of these words. They talk a lot about hospitality with the Ubuntu way of life, that it's open and welcoming, which kind of leads into trust and celebrating differences in a way. One brought me right back to the improv book that I read, and it was all focused on intercultural communication. But if you're not welcome, if you don't trust the people that are in your group and you're not kind of aware of the different cultures, the different religions, the different personalities, then it'll be hard to kind of get to a hospitable group or even trust them. And I kept thinking, what role is it that we play? If the Western culture is so based on like ego and individualism, like I think of a lot of the music jobs that I've done, and if I'm in a leadership role, then there's always like a sense of recognition, there's always like ego involved. But if it's truly like an Ubuntu way in a group, my role has to be like really equal, if that makes sense. That's pretty much it, really. It was a pretty easy read. And like I said, the biggest thing that I took from it was we are so like us focused and driven, and they are community driven. Like they learn from each other. Yeah.
So how does that affect what we do? How does that apply to us, Dan and everybody else?
Like in a community music sense?
Why would this be an important source reading for community music?
Because if I come to a group and I say this is what I think we should do, because this is my strong personality, then it's going to be totally led. It's not going to be very hospitable, open, or we can't really achieve the goals. I kind of think of someone, I can't remember now. There was like somebody in an improv class, and they were like overpowering the music all the time. Like that's, you're not seeing yourself, they weren't, if you're always taking charge of something and leading something, you're not leaving any room to figure out what other people think of you or how your contributions are actually going to guide and fit into this community sense, right? If you're just playing for yourself, then you're truly just going to play for yourself, right?
Okay. Reactions, yeah?
I also think that if you're always just thinking about yourself, you're not changing. And the interactions with other people change your perspective too. Like that, it opens you up. You're not just opening up for other people, but it's opening yourself up to other people's input into your life. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm filming you. I'm filming you. Yeah. Okay.
We also learn best from each other, right? Like a chunk of the book was saying, like how we develop as individuals. We talk based on how we observe people. We walk. So if we're all contributing something but aware of each contribution, then it kind of tagging on what you say, right? Like we learn best and can offer more through being open and aware, I guess, of how we come across and how everybody else contributes.
Mm-hmm. So what is the definition of Ubuntu as you had it? What's the best definition? Because there's so many definitions, it doesn't translate well into English, right?
Right. The best definition. I don't know. That's tricky. I would say like it's a way of life. It's a way to do things, and to do that would be to like I just think of awareness of your actions and your awareness of other people and
the interconnectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one way it gets defined is I am who I am because of who we are together. So when you are with different people, you are maybe a different person, right? Your certain sides of you are brought out. This is kind of obvious, but it's also a part of our character. When you say a person has Ubuntu, and that's what you're talking about, there's, I don't know, this kindness, openness, generosity. It's the best parts of who we are as a group. You know, that connectedness as a group. And so, I guess my question for all of us is then what for community music? Why would such a concept, even though it's a South African concept, why would it be important for us to embrace it or to explore it, Jen?
I think, just thinking about what is community music, I think it depends on what our goal is when we're going there. Do we focus more on we're here to make music, or are we here to build a community?
Absolutely.
So, seeing it as that is our goal, we are here to be who we are as a group, as opposed to
To make some perfect sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it's about also, if you're on board with that, as a facilitator, I think it's also about making sure that other people are climbing on board to that mindset as well, because it's one thing if you're facilitating with like a, like dominant attitude, but if there are others, like what Heather was saying last week about your group, where the one person, was it you?
I'm not sure what you're getting.
Sorry, the same thing you were talking about, the improv person who was like,
Oh,
unstuck.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, like if that person was a member of the group that you were facilitating and wasn't kind of, not buying into the concept, but not really understanding like the
Right.
goals of the group, I think that's something to be aware of for sure.
Okay. Okay, good. Good.
So I guess
Yeah,
like
Aaron?
how do we like, I don't know, how do we foster those create those relationships every single experience?
Yeah, how do you do it? I mean, we talked about, Jennifer, we were talking about last week about relationships. We always talk about these forming of the relationships, how important they are. How do we actually do it so that we've got this Ubuntu thing going? I mean, it's something to really talk about, like right now for a few seconds before we dive on. What do you think?
I don't think it will. I don't like that's a really high expectation. You can bring
Sorry
what you
about that.
know and bring the best, right? To find somebody else's fullest potential, I think. But I'm like, it's such trial and error because in my mind, like we're human, right? Like we're here tonight, but I'm sensing that we're all kind of like,
Yeah,
we're all
with the
alone,
U.S.
right?
election, and
So
we're
I
all like,
don't think
nah.
like to say every time, oh gosh, this is gonna be life changing, this is gonna be life altering. Like I think that's unrealistic. Like
So in other words, don't set silly goals. Like
Like
it's
if you're
more of
just
like
a-
be together.
yeah.
So it's more like being together is we embrace Ubuntu more, and we are more ourselves if we're just being together, rather than trying to set a goal for us to accomplish something, which is so different than music school, or choir, or these other things that are just insane, right?
I think being that way, that's the goal, and it's a great goal. But if you're trying to be that genuine, kind, all the time, I think it also makes you very vulnerable. That you're not putting on those, in this situation, because we do tend to be a little bit different in different situations. And if
We
you're
are.
trying to embody that all the time, I think it leaves you very
Vulnerable.
vulnerable too.
But don't you think vulnerability is the whole key to connecting with those people, with our people? And if
The more genuine you are, the easier I think it is.
the more vulnerable you are, the less threatening. But it's very difficult. Go ahead and say that, Jess.
I don't agree at all, actually. Some people can be alienated by being vulnerable, and then people don't know how to approach that person.
Right.
Oh, that person is.
But we're talking about a different kind of vulnerability. There's different kinds, right? Some that are approachable and inviting, others that are non-threatening, and some that are just kind of
Sometimes when
weird.
people say stuff, though, it hasn't happened to you, so you don't know how to react.
Oh, yeah.
And the class actually did, in the first class that we had when I was describing my experience.
Uh-huh.
And if you remember, I said I don't have a family.
Yeah.
So and then sort of there's this like wall because people don't understand what that means, because they don't, unless you walk those shoes. I don't know how else to say it.
But you made yourself vulnerable there.
But
And that.
am I like still, like I don't know.
No, well that gave us a way to relate to you immediately, that you would admit something like that, and it perplexed us, right?
We couldn't
We're
relate to the
perplexed.
situation,
Yeah.
but we could
To
relate
you.
to your genuine
Yeah.
communication.
But that's the thing though, when we're asking ourselves to be identify who we are, and we're still trying to figure that out for ourselves, like,
Yeah.
and somebody's being open and honest about it, like, right now. So what does that mean, like, to others who haven't, because for me, when somebody says something like, oh, my cat was killed, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get away from this because it's so sad.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And I don't want
This whole thing about locating myself is about getting to know me. Oh my gosh, that seems to be every week I'm getting to know. Well, yeah, because the more you get to know you and how you shift and how plastic you are, you know that your community people are doing the same thing. It's all moving all over the place. So, yeah.
I wonder how we've been talking about like song, like I guess we've talked about it in terms of like music therapy, but I think it relates to this too, like song-based community music and improv-based community music kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder how, like at this point, my interests lie more in like song-based, but that's just because that's what I know
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. So I wonder how this concept of Ubuntu like applies to when the goal is like is the music on the page or the song that everybody knows versus like where you kind of all have a role to play, like, oh, tenors are doing this,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah, versus a more free environment. Like I wonder how that's like navigated.
It depends on the facilitator.
Right.
It depends on, on where you're taking them, what kind of journey you're taking them on. Almost like a story, right?
So like if you're being flexible as a facilitator and like taking the music off the page rather than being
Sure.
like, this is what the score says, this is what we're doing kind of thing, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, and like I could have Dan come over right now and start something, and I'd say something like, oh, A flat major. And then I would maybe give one instruction like, any note you want as long as you come back to this A flat when I make this sign, something like that. And so that's the structure. And then I just take you on this funny little journey. That's an improv journey. Or you might use a song, like we're singing Alouetta or something. And then at a certain part in Alouetta, we just freeze and go in our own weird way, and then we come back to. They're different kind of journeys.
Right.
Depends on what you facilitate, and it allows them to explore different parts of the ear and the relationships with each other. So, but you get to decide that, and that's the next class is the practical stuff. It's like, what are the games you play with them? How do you get people out of their shells? What kind of things would you actually do? Hi, Simon.
So going back to Jessica or Jeff?
This is the same.
Same thing. Okay, sorry, I was.
Kira can't hear, so speak up.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Kira. So going back to what Jessica, like what you were saying before, with like when you're presented in a situation where sometimes you're like, well, when you're sitting, you're like, I don't know how to react to that. Though you, like just now, when you opened up to us, you took the first step, and then you put the ball in our court, whether we come and meet you in that area and create that relationship, or if what you said with like your when someone approached you saying like my cat just died, you're like, I can't deal with this, and you kind
Because
of
it's going against the grain, and I don't, it's like
yeah.
getting in the way of how we approached our day.
But then like that in itself, if where's my train of thought? Oh, damn, slippery bastard. Sorry. So when it comes to whether like when you take that first step or not, and we meet you, that would be the relationship that would be starting then. That would be, I feel like, the community. Same thing in an improv session or like in music. If you take a risk, like when we did an improv and none of us were like, well, we don't want to sing yet. But then someone sings, we're like, okay, I feel comfortable, we have that permission, right? Like you opening up to us gives us permission, you've given us permission to
Yeah, I was
take a
just
step
giving
into
an
your role.
example, but
No, I
like,
know,
yeah.
but that's where I feel it could be.
Well, remember that as a facilitator, though, you have control of that with your own relationship stuff with them. And you know what kind of group you're working with. You're not going to be thrown in there all.
But I think this idea that we're talking about Ubuntu is just a general outlook of life and how we approach every day. It's not just within community music.
Right, right. And the question was, though,
How does it
yeah, that was the question. And so, yeah, but you as a facilitator do have control of that. You aren't in a therapeutic session or something like that where it's a little weird. You have control of your group and you can regulate relationships. But every once in a while something will surprise you, certainly. Yeah, every once in a while. But it does give us this sense too that we as facilitators or teachers or whatever are different according to who we're with and who we're working with. And that it's okay to be different. You don't have to be, like I don't have to be just like Lee all the time when I'm working. That would be awful, right? Or I don't have to be the conductor who's conducting up there when I'm working with a community group. I can be completely different. And in other words, you kind of look at what's needed. I guess that's one way of saying it. What's needed here rather than, you know, who am I? That
And
obsessive.
I think it changes over the course of time too, because you may have one kind of role when you're first working with a group, but as.
It changes, your
everyone
relationship
says that,
changes.
then your role changes too. So I think it's not even just in different situations, but even in the same
Yep.
situation, depending on.
Moment by moment.
Yeah.
And as you begin to express things like, you know, human kindness, and you have this exchange, and there's gifts and reciprocalness. I mean, all of this changes who you are. I guess that's the main point of all this. This is very well done. It's not much of a read, but it's in such an important
It's a great
concept. Yeah, it's such an important concept, I think. And it's been used so many times now for so many different things. Let's go on. Who's next?
You said me.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, that was great, Dan. Dan's like old. He's like a pro now. He just gets up there and can do anything.
I had a weird situation this week in my high school choir. You know, you're trying to develop a very positive, supportive environment, and you know, welcoming and inclusive, all you know, and I'm really trying to portray that, and I think that's where we're going. And then I ran into another girl, and she was standing with one of my choristers, and I said, "Why aren't you in the choir?
Oh.
Or why don't you come and join us in the choir or whatever?" And her friend said, "No." No, she hated.
Okay.
It really freaked me out because here I've been spending so much time trying to create that positive, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, oh, must be all on the same page by now, but then you realize, oh, we're not. So I still have to keep creating that.
Unless they said that because choir is now their special place and they don't really want to share that.
No, it was more of a judgment on, or that could be part of it, and it was also judgment on this girl is really, I don't know, she didn't want to share. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, it wasn't. I so had not anticipated that reaction. I was expecting, sure, come.
Hey, let me read
join.
Lindsay's.
But maybe that's part of it too.
Let me read Lindsay's comment. She said, Kira said, thanks, Simon, when you spoke up.
Kira was also saying it's weird that she can't talk. Is there a way she can pipe in?
She can pipe in through, I can see her comments on chat. Yeah, but I was up there, so I couldn't see. But Lindsay said, we have responsibility to create a safe space and work to understand that there will be differences among the group, and we can work to make people comfortable. So I think that's taking that Ubuntu concept and working with it. Yeah, and having that. Okay, this is Emily. And Emily, what are you doing today?
So, the book that Lindsay, can you hear me? The book that I read is called The Auditory Culture Reader. It's a set of, I believe, 5 or 6 books about the different senses. So there's a book called The Smell Culture Reader, Touch, the Taste Culture Reader, the Alternative Visual Culture Reader, and then there's the Sixth Sense Reader as well, which is just cuckoo bananas. So that's my teacher swear, but okay. So a lot of this book, it's a collection of essays and various articles, and it's not all related to what we're talking about. Just gonna put that out there. A lot of it was unnecessary to what we're dealing with, but I decided to do kind of two aspects of it. So on the blog, we won't deal with this too much today, but on the blog, I decided to try something new. A lot of the book talks about how people deal with and interact in sonic space. So yesterday, I recorded my sonic journey, or my sonic day, and just with my phone voice memo app, and I recorded little bits of what I was doing that day and just the sounds. So I'm just gonna play. I won't play the whole thing for you because it's like 3 minutes or something like that. But I'm not gonna tell you anything that happened. I want you to just see how, like, if you can tell what I'm doing at that time, and like even if you can sense
through sound, like how I'm feeling or how I'm experiencing the day. So we'll just listen to a little bit of it. Hopefully it works. Maybe this would have to be on. No?
It was.
Oh, there's my, no, there you can hear it. I can hear it. It's very soft at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, you called it.
Oh, there's that thing.
Yeah, that's Dylan.
I want to eat there every day.
Proud foot, proud feet.
Nerd.
Should I stop it or are you enjoying this?
Great,
Okay.
great.
Are there kitties? Oh my god, hi puppies. Look, the squirrels.
Oh, oh my God.
So darky. Hi, Winnie.
Hey, Lewis.
Hi, Louie.
It's so annoying. I hate myself. Sorry.
Someone's squeaking.
It's definitely a normal part of my life.
Here we go. Taco Tuesdays.
Why isn't it showing
I
up?
don't know.
Sorry, guys.
There you go.
Oh,
you're
here
back.
we go. Let's keep going. It's almost over. Promise. The last part's the best.
It's crazy, girl.
So that was my day
Great.
yesterday. Yeah. So, like I was saying, a lot of the book talks about how we interpret sonic space and how sounds is sometimes more important than sight. We kind of think that sight is the most important of the senses, but this book is sort of equalizing sound, and it sort of brings about an awareness to how much sound affects us and how we experience sound day to day. So the next part we're gonna dig into is a little bit more about how this relates to community music. So, in my opinion, the goal of the culture reader is to investigate the primacy of sound as a modality of knowing and being in the world. So some of the common themes that I found throughout a lot of the articles were a concept called musica practica, which we'll talk about in a bit, locating oneself, the concept of a shared past or a shared locality, shared home. Diaspora was definitely included in this again. Talking about music as oral and oral tradition, selling alterity or otherness as a commodification, and the concept of music as a gift. Oh my gosh, guys. So much sickness. You're gross. All right.
I already took cough medicine before I came here.
So with musica practica, this is essentially like an older term for like the act of musicking, which we've all read about. I really like this concept though because it talks about when you in a music situation where you're playing only for yourself and each other. You're playing for yourself and the other musicians in that group. You're not playing for someone who's not a part of the music. So there's no audience. You're playing for each other. The other thing that was really cool was they talking about like movement as hearing. And so as you're playing, playing becomes hearing in these instances of musicking, where as you hear as you play through your body movements, which I think is so heavy and crazy and amazing. Hearing and playing becomes simultaneous. So listening and playing is one fluid action. It's not necessarily call and response. Like sometimes I think when I think about improvisation, my brain goes to call and response. Somebody says something, I'm going to answer it in my own way. This is not saying that. This is saying that it's a simultaneous process. Another concept is muscular bonding, and we were sort of talking about this last week in a way, but now that I have a word to put to it. So it sort of happens when you lose yourself in the music. It's the euphoric feeling that prolonged rhythmic movement arouses. So when you're doing, like, we were talking sort of about singing and drumming as the differences between those types of experiences. And they're saying that muscular bonding happens a lot in singing as well, but particularly with sustained rhythmic movement, this concept of flow happens and you kind of lose yourself in the music. This was really cool too. This is all from the same article. This one article, Song Time, was like super juicy. Music has the mutual tuning in relationship, which all communication relies upon, where the I and thou, so the me, is translated into the we. So I think that really falls in line with what you're saying about Ubuntu as well. And this is really cool too, that this Valentine says that social structures crystallize in musical structures. There's critical awareness, and the musical microcosm of your little ensemble replicates the social macrocosm on a larger scale.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff.
Say about one person waving their arms in front of a gigantic
Exactly.
choir.
Like it's just so like political, like
Yeah.
who are the different characters in your group? What are each of them representing? What types of perspectives are they bringing, and how do you navigate all of that in a musical ensemble?
Yeah.
So it's just like sort of a scaled down version of the world is what I took this to mean. Okay. We talk about social capital. This article talks about bridging social capital that to transcend our differences through musicking, which is funny because there's another article later on that talks about musicking is best when it's through sameness, when it's a group of people who are the same.
Is that right?
So I think that comes next. Yeah, so there was a really cool article about musicking and football stadiums, and by football in this case they mean like soccer, but in Britain. So they're talking about like the chants and the culture of like fan culture in football stadiums and football clubs. So they were talking about two different teams where they use the same chant, but one of them uses different lyrics, which are extremely racist against people of Indian culture. And but what was funny to me is that I won't put the lyrics up there because they're a little bit icky, but both of them have the same lyrics about women. The one that's like racist has racist connotations, But in the book, the author like barely makes a point about like the sexism that's in both of them, which I thought was interesting. This talks about locality and music to locate oneself. So in this situation, a lot of the members of the football club or the stadium don't necessarily live in that town. It's sort of like if you're a Leafs fan, but you live in, I don't know, Cambridge or something. You're not from Toronto, but that's your locality. You feel really close to that. And football stadiums, the music and the chants that everybody knows is what binds people together. So a lot of these songs they were saying are about suffocation and intimidation for the other team. A lot of them are racist as well. As more black soccer players were coming up through these football clubs, there was like these horrible counts of like, there were interviews with black soccer players saying that like the crowd was like making like monkey sounds at them and just really horrifying things, and like singing songs about like stereotypical like Jamaican laziness and just horrible things. So my question is like, we talk about community music as such a positive thing, but I think there's also this like weird other side to it as well that can bond people together over really awful feelings as well. I feel like this is very like apt about the elections that have recently come to pass, and yeah, I think that's worth exploring a little bit.
Kara says Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
And yes, this happened
Yeah.
in rehearsal with grade 7 to 8 students last night. They locked in with them. I don't know, when they moved together to the beat. I mean, she was talking about your rhythmic thing.
Oh.
And then just now she said Lord of the Flies. And then Lindsay said, good point.
Great.
Thank you for playing.
So this is another. These are so varied. Like.
Wait, I want to back up.
Okay.
I want to back up.
Sure.
Because this is, I think we have to deal with this.
Yeah, totally.
Because I mean, we just had this American election, right? So we've got all these people together, and there's millions of people who are all have responded to like essentially sexist, racist hatred messages. They're like, yeah.
I dig it. Yeah.
We win. So is this community music, even if it's chanting to build our team, to
And if they
even though
feel
it's
that same
hatred?
connection, even though it's hatred, is it still?
Well, let's go back to community music.
Yeah.
Let's go back to is it hospitality? Is there an open door?
Mm-hmm.
Is it bridging gaps or walking the boundaries? That's what right, Lee Higgins says in the book.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what this is?
I feel like the people in that group feel like it's open to others who feel the same as they do.
So
that's
it's
why.
Really circle the wagons.
Yeah, they feel like it's open. I don't know how to explain it. It's opened to an extent, I guess, is the lamest, like the silliest way I can explain it, but.
Like the boys' club.
Exactly. All for the boys, but only boys.
Yeah, no girls allowed. The little sign on the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of what I get from this.
Okay, so that's not community music. Is that clear? Like, and somebody disagree with me. Come on.
Well, does that mean the same for like church, like choir, church choir?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Just because you don't believe in the Pope,
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can't be in the. Yeah.
It's just mind blowing because it's just like what you've, I don't know, grown up with, this idea, and I'll talk about it tonight too, this idea of like choral singing as being inviting, or choir in general, when really it's like not so much.
Yeah, or like audition groups as well.
There you go.
Like, yeah.
Or groups that are monocultures. It's
Right.
just one, it's just,
Yeah.
just our little group of brown people or white people or
Yeah.
something, And so we have to really think what is community, because everything isn't community music.
Yeah.
Just because it's in the community, right? Because sometimes they're just little enclaves. Yeah.
So groups coming together to sing or chant together, creating a community because they are bonded by some like experience.
Kara calls it tribal. I'm not sure. She says it's not sure it's the right word. When the group mind takes over the individual sensibilities. Lindsay says, unfortunately, we have learned there are groups of people, community, that sing these songs of hatred, racism. Kara agrees it's not CM, not inclusive, and not welcoming. Lindsay says, that won't be what we do. We are inclusive and have positive messaging.
Sunshine, lollipops.
Okay. Yeah, good.
I was just gonna say, from the other side, being devil's advocate here, that, what was it that bringing people together, yeah, as a community. Who are we to say that their community is incorrect? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just because we're a liberal society and we say
exactly. Just
you're
because
doing
of
hate
our
speech.
beliefs, it's the exact same on
Yeah.
the other side, right?
There
They
you
could say
go.
the exact same about our liberal songs,
So you
right?
gotta watch it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a very personal thing, and it's based on what community
Absolutely.
you connect to.
Well,
Because
we have to shift perspectives, and
yeah,
in order and have empathy, even if it seems hateful to
yeah,
us. That's hard.
yeah, but that's the way life is. It's not always about your opinion or how you see it. There's always that other side. So yeah, whatever valid argument we have, they can come back with the exact same argument about us. So
You know, I would venture to take one step further with community stuff. It is always about the other side. It's always about making sure that somehow there's no more sides. And
yeah,
that's kind of our job.
and that's where it falls short, right? Is
Yeah.
that there's always in that perspective.
This was
There's
good.
one
This is the first
side.
time we've seen it though. So this was really well timed. In some ways,
Yeah.
it would have been better to hit this right before we had our First Nations thing.
Mm.
But this is good. So the timing is pretty good. Yes, Simon?
So then with the, because are we using community music as a giant umbrella term again? Like, is it just one giant community?
You might be using it like that,
Well,
but we use it pretty specifically with both musicking, right? I had you read
Yeah.
musicking and
But I
Lee
mean,
Higgins' book, right?
but I mean, like in this instance, like how we're viewing community music, is it a giant umbrella over one giant community of like a global community?
No, go
Or
back
is
to
it-
go back to your Higgins.
or-
Go back to the Higgins book. That's not how we conceptualize community music, right? How do we do it, guys? Like, what's the big thing we enter, and then then we try to figure out how to fit all this together. His basic construct is hospitality. The problem with that is there's a power structure involved with that, so it's problematic. But that gives us our first step. So that's your first litmus.
Yeah,
That's
no.
when you dip in first. Yeah. So, okay, no, don't try to explain. So is that hospitality is what I'm saying. Don't try to just say everything's, this is what the first dean did, who put in community music here.
Yeah.
Everything's community music. No, everything's not.
No,
Yeah.
you can't say
Conducting
that.
choir is not community music.
Okay.
So try to explain. I mean, I don't want to shut you down. I just want to make sure that you have that litmus test first.
No, I understand that, but I mean, it was just like,
Just because people are singing together, make music together, doesn't mean you formed community music.
yeah, and I wasn't saying that.
Okay, good.
Okay. No, I wasn't saying
think-
that. It was, never mind.
See if it comes up again. Let us if you find it.
I think it's a similar concept. Like I remember when I was taking the intro to music therapy course, there's a difference between music therapy and music as therapy. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have a lot of experience in this, but I feel like that's sort of what maybe Simon's getting at, and that's how I feel as well about certain things. Like I feel like the groups that I've participated in the past and the groups that I'm currently facilitating or directing, I feel like those are facets of community music. But now after seeing this and realizing about the hospitality and like the more openness aspect of it, I do have to like think about, is this that definition of community music? No, it's not the definition of Lee Higgins community music. Do I think that I'm facilitating music in a community? Yes. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I think
you can buy into both.
Yeah.
And try to balance them. Like I don't think he's got all the answers. Like he just
Right.
got us onto a construct that sort of works. You know, but it doesn't work
Yeah.
for everything. Of course not.
Right.
You know, that's why we're here. So I
Yeah.
think maybe there's degrees of the door opening. Like
Yeah, totally.
Maybe this chant stuff is community music, but I kind of want someone to tell me it is. And
So is it like
rationalize it out.
intention? Is that what we're saying?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it has to do with intention.
Yeah.
Like if their intention is to, for let's say this, segregate, then maybe it's not community music, right? But if you're saying, okay, you started this choir for kids, but now through the schooling, your light bulbs are going off and you're changing, then maybe it is becoming community music. Do you
Well,
know what
this
I
is
mean?
it. Like if you
Right,
read
right, right.
our choir's like
Right.
mission statement, it like says community like probably once, but it's like it's trying to be like an elite children's choir. So then I'm like, meh, not community music. But I try to like, I don't know. I'm trying to
You can give them a concept.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to bring in concepts of that to that group, to that community that practices musicking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
lots
yeah.
of, yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, I think what he's saying with intent, and I'm thinking of South Africa and the freedom songs, and like the whole intent is to freaking overthrow the government, right? That's pretty hostile, and it needed to be overthrown.
Yeah.
Does, but to me, it's like this great example of community music. It was open. It wasn't open. Was it open to white people? Yeah, I guess it was. There were a lot of white people who joined that whole movement. I don't know. What do you
I
think?
think that would be.
I
I
think
don't think they were trying, I think they were oppressing the oppressors. I don't think this situation is about that.
this is something else.
Right? Like, I don't think that
But
can
you're
be.
thinking what you're putting a judgment on.
Yeah, from my perspective outside.
That's your perspective of.
Yeah, instead of the
You know,
empathy
if there were
perspective.
two groups and there were, black South Africans chanting to, and there were white South Africans chanting to keep their way, is one community music and one not?
I don't know.
They're both
Yeah.
chanting with their belief and trying to,
That's what I was
I think
saying.
you're putting your own your own.
Oh no. I mean, yeah. The anti-apartheid movement itself, right? There wasn't an
I
anti-apartheid.
know, but
Right.
if there was, or.
If there were.
If there were, and you had, people singing patriotic songs for the
Right.
way,
Yeah.
South America, or
Or like
South Africa has
they
always
get yelling the
been,
labor
and
songs.
whatever,
Yeah.
then you can't say, how can you say because you believe in one
Yeah.
idea and not the other?
You can't.
That doesn't define what community music is.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
But I
isn't it?
think.
that we can get ourselves in funny conundrums, but all of us have this sort of weird facilitation power. Otherwise, you would be here to do that kind of thing. To like, oh, let's sing this stuff. So you have to watch what we're doing because what we do is inherently political. So that's why it's so important for us to have this political awareness and political knowledge and social knowledge and communal knowledge. It's just really the more you know, the more aware you are, the better your relationships, the better off we are, more informed. But yeah, this is a
huge concept.
Yeah, it's a crazy case,
It's a
right?
huge concept.
Yeah,
When we get into hate music, we
pretty rad.
get into all kinds of crazy things. Okay, go on, but this
Sure.
is really fantastic.
Thanks. Okay, we sort of already talked about this, but this is just another view of things. There was a article, I forget what the article was called, but essentially the gist of it was that there are sort of two sides to oral traditions and the passing down of music through different cultures. One side of things, sometimes immigrant parents feel that they do not want to pass along their cultural music because they want their children to essentially assimilate into the culture that they're being raised in. They don't want to other their own children by bringing them up through this culture. There was an example of a Viennese woman who did not want to bring her cultural songs to her children, who, when they immigrated to England, she wanted them to be fully British and just fit in and not have to deal with the pain that those songs caused her to remember because of their connections with war and difficult past.
That was your article too. That you sent? Somebody posted an article about Syrian children singing in a choir? Is that, did you post that?
Eugen?
Yeah.
Who was it?
I don't know.
Kira? Was that Kira?
I don't know, somebody posted it, but
Yeah,
it
oh,
was
yeah.
talked about that very concept, that sometimes they want to be together to sing because it's supportive, but sometimes they don't. Like,
Right.
I can see
Yeah.
both sides of that. Those are really.
And then this is a more modern approach. So that was from in the past. This is more like circa 2000s-ish.
Yeah.
On the other hand, and I may pronounce this so incorrectly, Gujarati, pardon?
No, it's okay.
Okay, Indians immigrated to England. The same desire to assimilate their children was not present. They wanted to maintain their culture. They didn't want their children to become too westernized. And in my limited experience, I feel like that this sort of idea is what I've come into contact with through living in Canada, where we're a cultural mosaic, and I don't feel that too many families fear that their kids, I don't know, maybe that's a naive view, but that's just what I've been exposed to.
And that's living in Canada now.
And even though this book is 16, 17 years old already, so.
I mean, there's some stuff, this is all good stuff you pulled out of it though. This is good.
It's a little bit more if we have any time, but I'll just kind of go through it really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, I just ran with my own interests because this is so dated. So there's like one mention about fadicizing cultures and profiting from commodification and things like that. And I'm a Madonna fan. I will just say that right now. But I mean, I'm not an idiot. Also, like I know what she's doing. So was really interesting that they just mentioned Madonna briefly and the different things that she's done. And so I went ahead and like I didn't know this song, so I went and looked that up, and it's bizarre. It's just bananas. So this is the video.
It's pretty old, right?
So yeah, 1998.
Yeah, give us a few seconds.
Sorry for this one.
No, I mean go play the video.
Okay. So it's just borrowing from other cultures for a hot minute, appropriating. People at this time felt that she did a really good job of being authentic. Keep that in mind. Oh, can you see this? So this is basically the gist for 4.5 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, that's a great shot.
What do you think of that, Emily?
What do I think of that? It gives me, sugar. Sorry. Oh no, how do I get back?
No.
Oh, come on. Oh, this is so weird. I can't look at my own screen to do this. Where's the present button?
Maybe try clicking escape and then it'll.
That's what I did. Okay, hold on. Let me try to go back. Oh well, we'll just have to see it in this format. Oy, 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 vey. Okay.
What about hitting the green circle at the top?
Is that helpful? Sort of. At least it's there. It sort of gives me the creeps. So I found an article that they were trying to analyze it, and the person said, Madonna is in all truth a modern-day geisha. She is trapped within her corridor without the least privacy, but she is free to perform. And I just feel like that's great. If you connect with that idea, Madonna, like, cool. But I don't know whether that's your right to express that in this way. And I read another article about it that she's using the style of Buto dance, which is a Japanese sort of modern dance form. And it doesn't really look like she's doing it. It looks like she's pretending to do it or mocking or imitating.
Yeah, it's just appropriating some of the culture.
Totally. And I mean, yeah, this is very dated. So people thought that this was really avant-garde. People thought back then that this was like, wow, like she's like blending and she's creating these hybrids and like good for her. And she also has another song called Shanti Ashtangi that she does, and it's all Indian. She has another song that she does called Frozen, and she's literally like becoming all these different arms, and she looks like Durga, like the goddess, and it's just like, I don't know, worth knowing that this exists.
Yeah, totally worth looking at in terms of appropriation and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, again, like I said, this is dated. This stuff still happens. A more, maybe not so modern, but I thought also about like Gwen Stefani and the whole Harajuku girls thing of like, was a circa 2007 or so. So a little bit after this,
Well, from our point of view for community music, especially for like choirs,
Yeah.
think of all the stuff.
Oh, I know. I feel like,
Ugh.
well, the repertoire that we have right now, we're dipping our hands into stuff that I don't think I should be dipping my hands into, but it's pre-programmed and the music is ordered, so I gotta do it. So,
Yeah, you gotta do it.
yeah.
Yeah, we get into it. We get ourselves into some really weird corners,
Yeah,
culturally.
yeah, like I talked about, like towards the beginning of this course about the Lorianne Dolph piece. It was called Arctic Lights,
Yeah.
and but again, who was talking last week about the shakuhachi player who's English, who like learned.
Yeah, Ray Brooks.
Yeah, so I feel like Lorianne is approaching that, or she's trying to approach that. At the time, I didn't see it that way. I was like, what's going on? But now I'm okay. No, she's like really, really trying, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's
Well,
different
and
pushes
there
and
isn't a
pulls.
clear way to move into cultures or to become a part of them or to become a First Nations song holder. So there's no clear path.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of inventing it all now.
Mhm.
So we get to invent it. And sometimes you'll have a good friend who takes you by the arm and says, "Come on, let's go learn Inuit song." Like, what?
Yeah.
Where's that come from? Yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, very cool. We should move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Quickly.
totally.
This was great. I mean, we got a lot of good stuff for us. So thank you.
Okay, I would
Aaron, if
just.
you could quickly.
I think
Like,
that's it anyway.
oh my God, where'd she go? Alex, do you want to go ahead and deal with
Oh, yeah, that was the
music
last slide
talent and
anyway.
performance?
Sorry?
Is that what you're dealing with today?
No.
What are you dealing with?
No. I don't even know.
Controlled solipsism?
Oh, cool. A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, who wants the song tonight?
I'm sorry?
Who wants the song tonight?
Tonight, Aaron